Hi everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Lamplight City, where we have just found out that we have got a number one suspect, it being Margaret Andrews, who is the jealous wife of Peter Andrews, who was infatuated with Miss Lathan despite being married, and she has a history of violence and a criminal arson record. So straight away that's suspicious. So we need to investigate the Gascoigne Supper Club. Nothing's happened there yet. We've got to speak with attorney Jonas Usher, but we need proof of death to do that. So really the only other thing is to have Dr. Edwards, the coroner, examine the ashes, which we did do, but I wonder if now potentially we just check in to see if he's actually managed to do that yet. Doesn't look like it. We've also got to find a new substance here to test as well. Let's try talking to him.
Pardon me, Edwards. Yes?
Oh, maybe he has done it.
Have you had a chance to look at those ashes I gave you?
Yes, I have.
Nice.
Unfortunately,
And?
there isn't much I can tell you.
Oh, what?
The victim burned to death at a very high temperature. These ashes are greasy and putrid because of liquefied fat from the body, which burned like a candle. As to what caused her to burn, I cannot say without more evidence. I'm sorry, Miles.
It's quite all right, Edwards. I appreciate the information nonetheless.
Well, just so you don't go away empty-handed, have a copy of my report. Maybe it will be of some use.
Okay. So we got
Thanks. That's all I needed to know for the moment.
Anytime, Fordham.
So really that hasn't helped us out because we don't know if it was spontaneous combustion or foul play still. So, documents, coroner's report. Desiree Lathan, age 63, died as a result of burning to death. Cause of fire is undetermined. But I do wonder if we can use that with Usher now. So let's head out. That would be proof of death, right? Because it's a coroner's report. Okay, right. So now potentially we have the document to get through to Usher and Price. Let's give it a go.
Begging your pardon, sir.
Yes?
I have a document for Mr. Usher.
Perhaps Mr. Usher will see me when he sees this.
Oh, what's that?
The letter from him to Desiree Lathan, I don't think so. The coroner's
A
report.
report from Dr.
Here we
Malcolm
go.
Edwards, the city coroner, confirming Miss Lathan's untimely demise.
Let me see that. Oh my. Wait one moment, would you?
Bingo! Is it going to work?
Martin, what is the meaning of this?
The gentleman who brought that is a private investigator. He's waiting outside to see you.
Send him in then.
You heard him, Mr. Fordham. You may go inside and see Mr. Usher.
Thank you kindly.
Okay, we can go in. Nice. Hello, Mr. Usher.
So, a private investigator, are you?
Yes, we are.
That's right. Miles Fordham's my name.
Jonas Usher, a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Pleasure's all mine.
So, it would seem that Miss Lathan has shuffled off the mortal coil, as it were.
I'm sorry to say that is indeed the case.
Please come in, have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. I only ask that you kindly wash your hands in the basin first, and limit what you touch in here.
This one seems a bit on edge, doesn't he?
He does. All right, well, is that... Yeah, that's the basin. Let's wash our hands and we'll have a look around and then we'll talk to him.
Thank you, Mr. Fordham. I appreciate your cooperation.
I wonder what would have happened if we didn't do that. Maybe he would have kicked us out.
Adds a nice bit of color to the room.
Here's that pipe.
Is there anything more boring than books on law? Just reading the titles is making me drowsy.
Yeah, I kind of get that.
Usher seems to like keeping his guests at a distance.
Yeah, he does.
Stern-looking lady.
Yeah, I wonder who that is. Okay,
Judging
liquor.
by how full these bottles are, Usher doesn't indulge much. What a waste.
Alright, well, there's a globe here as well. Okay, it looks like all we can do, so let's talk to Jonas Usher.
Mr. Usher, I have some questions for you.
And hopefully I have your answers.
I would certainly hope so. Let's ask about himself.
How long have you been practicing law, Mr. Usher?
Usher and Price has been operating since 1805. I took over from my father 15 years ago. The stress hasn't helped my heartburn, I can tell you that. Why, just last night I was tossing and turning because I couldn't stand the burning in my throat. That's why I've got these bags under my eyes, you know.
Ah, yes. And Mr. Price?
He's still here, although I think he'll probably be retiring soon as well. But the law firm has done well over the years. and I have a feeling it'll do even better in the years to come.
Oh? Why is that?
We're currently beginning a group litigation against Royal Maverick for the Lygia disaster.
Ah.
I'm confident that we'll recover quite a significant sum for the families of those killed. You weren't by chance affected by the disaster, were you?
Thankfully, I wasn't, no.
Shame. You could have joined the class action and done quite well when we win.
You know, I always thought we detectives made our living off human tragedy.
Okay, are you afraid of germs?
Mr. Usher, I've noticed from your rules and habits that you seem to have a particular aversion to germs. Why is that, if I may ask?
Oh, I've been ill most of my life, Mr. Fordham.
Ah.
I was a sickly child, and unfortunately my condition hasn't improved with age. It's a miracle I'm still alive. That's why I'm so careful about exposing myself to germs.
I see.
How's my color? Do I look pale to you?
Oh god.
Not
You're fine.
particularly.
I saw myself in the mirror this morning and thought I looked a bit peaked. Also, my leg has been hurting more than usual, which has been cause for concern.
Nah, you've really done it, Miles.
Yes, well, moving on.
Let's ask about Desiree Lathan then.
What can you tell me about Desiree Lathan?
She was a lovely woman. I'm saddened to hear of her unfortunate passing.
How long had you been her attorney?
She retained me some 10 years ago, I believe.
Okay.
That's quite a long time.
Yes, I remember I had just gotten over a bout of melancholia and been able to work in nearly a month. I didn't think I'd make it out of that, but luckily things took a turn for the better.
Back to the
Lathan
topic
came
at
to see
hand,
me, and
please.
I've served as her attorney ever since.
Would you say Miss Lathan is a wealthy woman?
Indeed I would. Her estate is worth a significant sum. Of course, you understand that this is confidential information, so I cannot tell you the exact amount.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, of course.
Let's ask about her death.
Can you think of anyone who may have wanted to harm Miss Lathan?
No, I can't. What makes you think that someone actually killed her?
It seems the most plausible explanation.
Miss Lathan was getting on in years. It's likely she may have developed a case of pneumonia.
And then
That's the
burst
most
into
common killer of
flames?
The elderly, you know. I had it when I was younger. Most unpleasant. Constant coughing, spitting up phlegm, rattling in the lungs. Thankfully, I made a full recovery.
Good.
But supposing that was the cause of death, how would it explain the fact that her body was completely burned?
She was a smoker. Perhaps she was having a cigarette when she died and dropped it on the bed, causing it to catch fire.
I found no cigarette butts at the crime scene.
I'm merely offering my opinion, Mr. Fordham. You can take it or leave it.
I think we should leave it.
Let's ask about the will then.
I found this letter in Miss Lathan's bedroom, which mentions that she recently changed her will.
Yeah, that is
Can you tell me a
suspicious.
bit more about the circumstances surrounding this change?
That's not an uncommon occurrence. People change their wills all the time. Relatives and friends fall in and out of favor constantly.
True.
Had Miss Lathan made changes to her will previously?
No, this was the first time.
What change did she make exactly?
Just a change to her beneficiary. Nothing out of the ordinary.
And when did this
Okay.
change occur?
About 4 months ago, if I recall correctly. Yes, it was definitely in June, because I'd been in bed with a nasty stomach flu at the end of May.
God.
That was no fun, let me tell you. I think I lost nearly 6 pounds from the constant trips to the WC.
Delightful.
Couldn't keep a thing down, and whatever did stay down soon came out the other end, if you get my
Come
meaning.
on, man.
I'd say his meaning is regrettably impossible to avoid.
Right, beneficiary.
Who did Miss Lathan name as her new beneficiary?
Mr. Fordham, please. You know I couldn't possibly tell you
Oh,
that.
come
There
on.
is such a thing as attorney-client privilege.
If she's deceased, she's technically no longer your client. Isn't it suspicious that she died so soon after changing her will? Tell me I'll sneeze on you. That seems a bit extreme.
I'm aware of that. However, Miss Lathan is deceased. Therefore, it stands to reason that she is in fact no longer your
Yeah,
client.
let's use the law on him.
True, but her estate is still in my hands. I'm not going to betray her trust just because she's dead.
About
Okay.
Miss Lathan's beneficiary.
I told you, Mr. Fordham. I can't divulge information protected under attorney-client privilege.
Okay, it looks like we can
Find it
keep trying.
suspicious, Mr. Usher, that Miss Lathan died under such mysterious circumstances only 4 months after naming a new beneficiary? You said yourself she was wealthy. Does it not make sense that someone might have wanted her inheritance?
I suppose it's not entirely out of the question.
Right. So tell me the name of Miss Lathan's beneficiary so I can determine if this was, in fact, a murder.
Come on.
Very well. It was
Yes.
a man named Roger DeVay.
Roger
Do you have any information on
DeVay.
where I can find him?
Only his address. It's 775 Pumblechook Place in Chumley.
That'll do nicely.
Thank you, Mr. Usher.
So, I wonder what relevance he has
Thank
to
you for
Miss
your help,
Lathan.
Mr. Usher.
The pleasure is all mine, Mr. Fordham.
Seems like a nice guy, actually. We've encountered quite a few nice people so far in this case. Makes a nice change, doesn't it? Right. So, we've got some things in the casebook there. Locate Roger DeVay, which seems to be our only other thing other than the Gascoigne Supper Club. Lathan's changed will. Usher mentioned that Desiree Lathan changed her will to name Roger DeVay as her beneficiary. We've got Margaret there as well. Right. So, I guess we can go to the DeVay house? Is this it? Yeah, DeVay's residence. Okay.
Did Usher give us the wrong address? This should be 775, but there's no building here.
Oh. Interesting. This is definitely on the poorer side of town, isn't it?
These aren't in such bad shape, really. As far as the chum goes, this is one of the nicer areas.
Okay.
I used to draw funny pictures of rich people on walls too when I was a kid. Never did a lick of good, but it would always make me feel better.
There's some paintings. Ooh! There was a painting of her. Wasn't there a painting of her on the wall in the... Am I imagining there was a crime scene... In the crime scene, there was a painting of her on the wall, but the name of the painter had been burnt off or something? Am I remembering that right? I know there was something similar in Chicken Police. I don't know if I'm confusing them. Let's look at these paintings.
Yeah, those aren't half bad. Too bad they aren't finished.
That's
I wonder if
interesting.
they're going to be used to keep the fire going.
Very interesting. Could the oily substance be something to do with paintings? Okay, some straw mats
By
here.
chum standards, that's practically a four-poster.
We'll have to bear that all in mind.
Hey, that's just like the one we had when I was a boy. Good old Rusty. He served us well.
Rusty. Homeless man. Is this DeVay?
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Is this 775 Pumblechook Place?
yeah, it would be if the building were still here.
Oh, I see. Might I ask you a few questions?
You can ask.
All right. Let's ask about himself first before we get onto the other stuff.
What's your name, sir?
Me? I'm Herman. Herman Shaw.
How long have you been living here?
Oh, I've been here for ages. Since before the building got condemned and was torn down.
Oh, it was condemned.
They pretty much forced us out, you see, but a couple of us came back and set up here.
Okay.
Seemed like a good idea. And I had nowhere else to go. That's not so bad, except for when it rains. And I guess we'll have to bundle up a bit more when it gets cold. But other than that, it's like the place was still standing.
Is it?
There's some of that classic chum ingenuity. Or maybe it's just delusion.
Yeah, it does sound like it. Former building.
What happened to this place? Why was it condemned?
The building was old, in a pretty sad state, so the inspectors came by and said it was unfit for living. There was a whole lot of us here. Most were able to pick up and go, but a few of us stayed.
Why don't you go to a workhouse?
You wouldn't be asking if you'd ever been inside one. It's wall-to-wall people, children crying, sick folk coughing all over you.
But there's plenty of that out here, too.
Well, sure, but out here, there's freedom.
Yeah.
Nobody telling you what to do except the odd copper. Not even many of them in this neighborhood. Besides, this is my home. Just because it's missing a few walls don't mean I ought to abandon it.
Okay. Protest.
You look somewhat familiar. Didn't I see you protesting outside the Harris construction yard?
Oh.
Yeah, I was there. What of it?
Were you affected by the Ligeia disaster?
Well, nobody I know was killed, if that's what you mean.
So, why were you protesting the construction of the Lenore?
That Devons fella promised he'd buy us a meal if we stood in the crowd.
Oh.
And for a free meal, I'd do just about anything.
Would you now? All right, let's ask about Desiree Lathan.
Do you know a woman named Desiree Lathan?
Nah, I don't know many women. They're not too fond of my company. Well, I don't understand why. I always try to be a perfect gentleman. Guess it just don't got the charm. Well, the bohemian lifestyle ain't for everyone. Maybe someday my luck will change.
Maybe.
I'm sure it will change the day he decides to take a bath.
Bill? Right, Roger DeVay.
Do you know Roger DeVay?
Mom, Of course I know him. He lives here with me.
Ah.
Does?
Well, whenever he decides to come home, anyway. Rest of the time, I
Right.
suspect he finds a way to sleep at his job.
His job.
Me, I do the same, except I can't stand the smell of the horses.
Do you know where Mr. DeVay works?
Nah, he never told me.
I thank you for your time.
Maybe give us a shilling or two for the trouble?
I'll consider it.
Okay, so that's interesting. So he does come here, does he? But not all the time. So we've got to locate Roger DeVay. Interesting. Alright, well, how are we going to do that? Do we have anywhere new we can go, maybe? DeVay's residence doesn't look like it. Someone's got to know. Maybe Upton knows? Maybe we can ask Upton. But I'll tell you what, guys. We're actually out of time. So we'll ask Upton in the next one, try and find Roger DeVay and try and figure this all out. It's all coming together nicely so far, and I'm really enjoying it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. A big thank you to my patrons, Arcades Games, Wayne, Nate, Terminally Nerdy, Paul from the Phantom Fellows, Lyle and Barry Aldridge for all the support on the channel. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you all next time.